When I was younger, I struggled a lot with my dating life. I was inexperienced and I really didn't know what I was doing. And then when I would get a girl to date, I wouldn't know how to treat her, and then I would end up losing her. And this happened over and over and over again until there was a couple of really important principles that I learned that I was finally able to apply when I met my now wife, who I've been with for over 2 years and I've been married for over a year. I wish somebody sat me down a long time ago and taught me certain things that I'm going to show you in this video to go from struggling in your relationships to women to absolutely thriving and having the best relationships out of anybody that you know personally. Because again, I am living proof of this. I have the happiest and most loving relationship, I think, out of everybody that I know. And it doesn't just happen on accident, right? A lot of times you can believe that if you just get the right person, that magically everything will work out. But that's not true. I know for me, my wife is the perfect person for me. But even then, I had to make a lot of changes to myself in order to become the kind of man that would be able to have a long-term relationship and be able to handle it and know how to treat my woman properly. So I'm gonna go through about 5 things in this video that if you can apply all of them, that it will transform your relationships. I promise you, if you're serious about growing your relationships, you need to watch this and apply everything that you've learned. The first thing that you need to understand is that good sex and your good sexual life starts outside of the bedroom. So unfortunately, for a lot of men who are in long-term relationships, the sex has either gotten really boring or y'all just don't get intimate at all. Unfortunately, this is the reality for a lot of men, and this creates a lot of problems like resentment, anger, and then it could even cause breaking up or divorcing or cheating, right? And if you want to avoid that, this is exactly what you're gonna do. You're going to nourish the relationship as much as possible outside of the bedroom. So if you think of your relationship like a garden and you're planting fruit or vegetables or trees, and you want the fruits and vegetables and trees to grow so that you can have a beautiful garden, it's not enough to just plant the seeds. You also have to come and water it every day, constantly. That's what a lot of people sometimes don't understand about relationships. Every day I wake up with the mentality and intention that I'm going to water the garden of my life, which is a part of that is the relationship with my wife. Every day I wake up with the intention thinking, what am I going to do to nourish and build my relationship with my wife? A lot of people don't actively have that mindset in their head, but if you can come up with ways to nourish your relationship outside of the bedroom, it will increase the quality of your intimate and sexual life a lot. Are you bringing love? Are you bringing service? Are you bringing excitement into her life? Or have you just gotten really comfortable with her being around? Do you just let her do things for you without doing much in return? I know in my life, I went through a phase and a period of time where I got really comfortable around my girl, almost too comfortable. Because when we first got together, it was my first real long-term relationship. And I got so used to and adjusted to just spending a lot of time with her, right? And we would go out to eat and we would go out drinking and we would watch movies and play games together and eat junk food. And eventually it got to a point where I didn't really focus on myself or on my goals. And then I wasn't really doing a whole lot to build the relationship besides just trying to do the normal routine everyday activities that we were getting used to doing with each other. This didn't change until I decided to understand that, like, look, my relationship will fall apart if I just keep going like this. So what I did was I reevaluated in the relationship how I'm treating my woman. And so I looked and I'm like thinking, what can I do to make our relationship better? It's kind of like any other skill. You work at it to get better at it. And so I started being more intentional about what I do. And so now I started building these routines of like doing things for my woman, serving her, taking care of her, trying to be intentional about planning dates and planning holidays and anniversaries and birthdays. And as I went through time and time and time in my relationship, over time, I started to get more and more comfortable with the idea and mindset that I need to focus on building this relationship every single day, because the work doesn't stop when you get the girl. The work continues even after you get the girl. And that's the hard and brutal truth that a lot of men don't understand. And I know I didn't understand, because especially when you're young and you don't have a lot of experience with women, it can be really hard to get a girl and attract a girl. And so because you put in so much work to even try and get the girl, you feel like you've done it and you win. You don't have nothing else because you have the girl. But if you stop putting in work in that relationship, it will disappear just as quickly as you got it. So that's really important to keep in mind. The next thing that you need to know in order to change your dating life and have that transformation of going from like a struggling relationship to not really understanding how to treat women very well to having a really loving and thriving relationship, the next thing that you have to know for real is you need to have a mission that you're focused on in life. So for example, I remember early on in my relationship, I was at a place where I was really stuck in my life. As time went on, through when I started my relationship, I was really focused when I first met my wife. I was going to the gym all the time. I was, thinking about like what business I should run. And I was very focused on my mindset about what I wanted to do for my future. And then as time went on, I was starting to date my woman, and I was just getting really comfortable with spending time with her. So we were going out to eat, we were staying up late, we were going out to the bars on weekends, and we weren't really I wasn't building up my relationship in the same way that I was before. I wasn't focused on the future the way that I was before. I wasn't working hard. I stopped going to the gym as often. I gained a lot of weight, and I ended up becoming really complacent, and that actually caused my woman to lose attraction for me. So even though I was spending more time with her, she was losing attraction for me. And I didn't change. I didn't realize this until she just wasn't as close and wasn't as romantic with me. And then I read in the book, The Way of the Superior Man by David Dita, it talks a lot about that, by you having to keep your mission first as a man. And so I reevaluated, and I'm thinking about what I want to do with my life. And I made that change. I took a step back from spending as much time with my woman, and I started to develop more routines, more habits for myself that were going to build up my life in the future. So even though we were spending less time together, because I was more focused and more intentional on my mindset, it actually improved my relationship a lot. And when my relationship improved a lot, it also helped me work on my goals more. And so it just became this upward spiral. But it really doesn't start unless you have in your mind the mindset and the notion that your mission is more important than your relationship. And if you have to lose that relationship in order to keep your mission going, then that's the price that you got to pay. Because I'm going to be successful no matter what. If I can't be with this person, if this person is getting in the way of my success, then we either have to reevaluate it, set the boundaries, have the conversations, make the changes. If we don't make the changes, you're either going to stay stagnant and you guys are going to start resenting each other, or you'll just split and y'all move on. So either way, you have to just be very focused on developing and maintaining your mission in your life. What is the overarching general purpose? Why are you here? Where are you going? Where are you going to be in 5 years, 10 years? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. And if you can ask yourself these questions and not just listen to what I'm saying in this video and feel like you're doing something good, but actually changing the behavior of your life, right? This is your wake-up call, where if you're struggling in your relationship, but at the same time, you're kind of just falling off on your goals, don't focus on the relationship. Focus on your goals. If you focus on building yourself up and building your goals and working hard, your relationship will get better as a byproduct. That's what happened in my life. I'm personal living proof of this. So if you can do that, you will not fail in your life, because your relationships and the quality thereof will improve exponentially. Again, I'm living proof of this. So if you can apply that into your life, you will not fail. And I wish someone had told me that when I was younger, because I lost a lot of time and a lot of energy that I wish I could get back. But now I know, and me and my girl, we're off to the moon, and I love it. So apply that to your life, really, and watch what happens, brother, for real. The next thing that you need to know, and the next brutal lesson that I wish I learned, was to really understand what my woman's love languages are. So a lot of times, unfortunately for men, we don't know what actually makes our woman happy. We think we know, but we don't actually know. One of the best ways to understand exactly what you can do to keep your woman happy long term is to understand and learn what her love languages are, and then just do things that feed into those love languages as much as you possibly can. Like, for example, for my wife, she loves acts of service and quality time. And if you're not familiar with what the 5 love languages are, I'm not gonna go over it in this video because like a lot of other people talk about it. But if you go to Google and you just look it up and you look up what it is, just look at that list and think of which of these 5 things do my woman like doing the most? Usually it's 2 things that they like, right? And that's the same case for my wife. And so as time went on and I got to know her more and I got to understand what her love languages are, all that I simply did was I changed the way that I treated her to accommodate those love languages. So my wife, for example, isn't one that cares all that much about like really expensive gifts. So I stopped focusing on like getting her the new Birkin bag or whatever, right? She doesn't care about any of that stuff, but your woman might. So you have to understand what it is that she cares about and what it is that she doesn't. Because if you spend all your time and your effort doing gestures for her that don't feed her heart, it's not going to really make a lot of difference. And it can actually backfire because it can make your woman feel misunderstood. Because I know I've made this mistake before where, I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing for my woman. I'm just trying to do whatever. And it ends up not being what she doesn't like. Like, for example, if your woman, let's say your woman can't swim, right? Or she has a hard time or she doesn't like the water, but then you plan a date night around her going to the beach, like you fucked up because you don't take the time to learn what it is that she likes. No lie, what I did when I first started with my woman was I would write down things that I would notice about her. So literally when we first started dating, like back from like the first, second, third date, literally in the notes app on my phone, I would write down like what her Starbucks order is, or whenever we would go to a certain restaurant, like what she would order at the restaurant, because usually she would want to order the same things over and over again. So I would know her. And so like the next time we went there, I could say, hey, she wants this and this. And it shows like women want you to really understand them and know them, because if you can really understand who your woman is and what she likes and what she doesn't like, that goes a long, long, long way, because a lot of guys don't take this time to understand it. And so this creates the risk of you getting, your woman lost to some guy who like charms her. You know what I mean? And if you can avoid that, your relationship will go a long way and you won't lose your girl. So I wish someone told me that when I was younger, because had I known, like I knew better when I first started dating my woman, but throughout my time going on dates with girls, it's like, you would date them and then like you wouldn't really remember much about like what they say or what they tell you about themselves, and then it kind of just goes out the window, right? And so you don't build up as much chemistry, as much rapport. But when I met my wife, I just pulled out my notes app. I wrote down a lot of stuff that I learned about her, and I was able to seem like I remembered it all when really I just had it written down. And so now like I know her things like her shoe size and what she likes to get at Starbucks, and what her favorite colors are, right? Or like what kind of clothes she likes wearing, or what kind of places she likes going to. And then you just build your plans around that kind of stuff, and you just pick and choose like different things that she enjoys doing. You put it into one day and bam, you give her the time of her life, because you've taken the time to understand what it is that she likes doing. I did this and it worked so well. So please apply this and it'll take your relationship to the next level. Because if your girl feels like you don't understand her, you don't like really, really love her like that, this will solve that problem, bro. Like if you can start just writing down shit that she does and what she likes, what she doesn't like, it'll go such a long way, for real. The next thing that I want to talk about is that you cannot buy her love. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying before about the love languages. A lot of guys will try to earn their woman's love or earn their approval, especially when you're early on in the relationship. This is partially desperate energy. And I'm going to talk more about desperate energy later on, but women can kind of sense when a guy is just reaching to get her approval. So if you're early on in the relationship, or if you're struggling a lot in the relationship with your woman, a lot of guys will have the tendency to want to buy their way out of it. They'll want to take her on all the nice restaurants, buy her the clothes, buy her the shoes, buy her the bag. And you make the mistake thinking that if you buy her all this nice shit, that she's going to love you more. It really doesn't work like that. And it actually does the opposite a lot of the times, because especially if it comes from a place where like you lose a lot by spending this money on her, like it will cause her to lose respect for you. Because I've seen so many times, like there's literally girls who will date guys and in their phone will have the guy under his contact as like free food #1, because this guy always just takes her out and doesn't evaluate like what the exchange is in the relationship. So I just don't want guys to be taken advantage of in the relationship. So you have to evaluate, like, are you just pouring too much into your girl? Are you buying stuff for her that you can't afford all the time? I know I've made this mistake. Like I put, especially early on in my relationship, because I wanted to impress my woman, I thought that I needed to do all this like crazy stuff to get her to like me. And it came from a place of me not having a lot of confidence in myself, because of course you want to give your girl a nice time and you want to take her out and you want to do things for her, but you don't want to go overboard with it either. A lot of y'all will spend money that you don't have. You'll take her on trips that you can't afford to go on. You'll do things that you really can't afford to do because you're trying to exchange your money for her loyalty and her love. And it really doesn't work like that. It would be better if, for example, you're straight up about what your financial situation is. Like if you don't have a lot of money, like you say that, say like a good woman would rather you spend your money on like building up your life and building up the future than spending money on her right now. That's like what a wife quality woman is. And if a woman doesn't care about your financial future and she just wants you to spend on her, like that's a red flag, bro. And you have to watch out for that, because so many times I've seen guys get and take advantage of by their girl because they just keep spending because the woman doesn't really care about the guy's future. She just wants someone to fund her lifestyle. And unfortunately, there's a lot of women out there like that. So you have to be really intentional and really careful about that. You have to take a step back and evaluate, hey, am I spending too much money on her? Thinking that if I spend enough, if I spend like this much, or if I buy this for her, that it's gonna fix the relationship. It's not gonna fix shit. So you have to understand that. It's not gonna fix nothing. So instead, you have your boundaries, you map out like how much money you can spend, and you just spend that and you make it work. And because you wanna tell her like, look, this is what I have. This is what I want to do with my future. I'm going to take this money, invest it here, invest it there. A good woman loves a man with a plan. So if you can understand that you're not buying her love, it'll go a long way for you, for real. And the last thing that I want to talk about is desperate energy kills relationships. That's the last point I want to make in this video. Now, desperate energy is, again, when you put her at the center of your world. I made the mistake of doing this when I was younger. I would put women at the center of my world and relationships would fall apart before they even got started, because it puts so much pressure on the woman to like show up and be there for you in your life. Because a woman wants a man that's gonna be strong. A woman wants a man that's gonna stand on his own 2 feet and he's gonna make shit happen whether or not she's in the picture. A good woman wants to be a sidekick to a man, right? She wants to be his partner, his companion. She doesn't want to be the center of everything. So too many times, especially if you're the kind of guy and you have like anxious attachment style, if you have issues with like your parents not giving you enough love when you're a kid, if you have a lot of childhood trauma, unfortunately, this is so common, right? Where you will look for romantic love and you'll think that it'll fix all your problems in life. So if you go into the relationship with mental health issues and you think to yourself, oh, if I just have a relationship, if I can just fix this relationship with my girl, then everything else will be better in my life, then you've already lost. So the real like thriving relationships, they work when the guy, you have a plan, you have a mission, you have a purpose, and you have a sense of accomplishment for yourself in your own life independent of her. Because for myself, right, I feel like a big reason why my marriage works so well is because my wife knows I'm gonna be successful regardless. Like, I will not fail. I will not lose. No matter what happens in our relationship, she could go and leave me tomorrow, and like, I'll bounce back from that shit. And if your woman doesn't feel that same way about you, if she doubts that you're able to do that, if you've made her the center of your world, if you want to spend all your time, all your energy, and you don't have nothing else going for you outside of being a boyfriend or a husband, you will not do shit. Not only in your life will fall apart, right? Also, in addition to that, your relationship will fall apart, because nothing works when you make one person the center of your world. So instead, what you have to do is, instead of chasing the butterflies, you have to build the garden so that the butterflies come to you, and the butterflies want to stay with you. Your woman being that butterfly, right? You want to build up your life. You want to build up your relationship. And you do that by building yourself up first, even if it means spending less time with your woman. If you do all the things that I taught you, like all these lessons that I wish I learned, like this is years of experience combined into like a 20-minute video. If you can take this time and really try your best to apply it to your life, you will not fail. And if you need some help applying these lessons plus other things that I teach in my videos into your life, I offer a one-to-one coaching program. If you click on the link in the description below, you can book a free discovery call with me, and we can talk about your relationship and what's holding you back. And I can guarantee that you will take your relationship to the next level if you join my program. The link is in the description below, so I hope you book a call, because if you've gone this far in the video, you know I can help you. So click on that link in the description, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.